welcome back to our channel, and today we will be talking about surds. So the first manipulation you need to know: if you have square root of two numbers times together, you can just separate them as two separate square roots. As you can see, square root of AB becomes square root of A times square root of B. Our first example will be square root of 28. So I'm gonna look at two numbers times together to make 28, and they will be 4 and 7. So I'm gonna separate them as two separate square roots. So it will be square root of 4 times square root of 7, and as you know, 4 is a square number, so that becomes 2, and square root of 7 remains the same. So the answer is 2 square root of 7. The next manipulation you need to know is division. So just the same as multiplication, if you have square root of A over B, it becomes square root of A over square root of B. Okay, so both of those rules are reversed, so you can apply them either way. So our next example is square root of 44 divided by square root of 11. And as I'm just saying, they're reverse rules, so I can now convert our example to one big square root. So I'm gonna put square root of 44 divided by 11. 44 and 11 have common divider, which is 11, so the top becomes 4 and the bottom becomes 1, and we get square root of 4 divided by 1, which is just square root of 4, and as you know, that is just 2, so our answer is 2. The next manipulation you need to know about is a square root of b. How can you put a into the square root? All you need to do is square root a squared, because square root and square is the opposite operation, so it still remains as a, and then I'm just going to times by square root of b and combine them under one bracket. Okay, so our example will be 2 square root of 5, and I'm gonna do square root of 2 squared times square root of 5, just like in above, and that will become square root of 2 squared times 5 under 1 square root, and if I expand that, it becomes square root of 4 times 5, which is just square root of 20. The next manipulation you will need to know about is what happens if you add square roots. So let's say we have square root of a plus or minus square root of b. Does it equal square root of a plus b? No, it does not equal. You can never add two surds that have different numbers under square root. You will have to simplify them so they have the same thing, just like I'm writing here. It's the same as if you were adding x to y. They're two completely different things. You cannot add them together. Okay, just remember that it does not apply this rule. It's only multiplication and division. So what can you actually do? Well, what you can do is, if you had a square root of c plus b square root of c, so they have that common square root, then you can add them. It's essentially the same as if you had 2x plus 3x. You know, you can think of your square root as an x, but only if it's the same. So our example is going to be a square root of 20 plus square root of 80. Okay, so as you can see, 80 and 20, you cannot add them together. It's not going to be square root of 100. So what we need to do is find that common square root. So I'm going to look first at square root of 20 and try and simplify that. That is the same as the previous example, but I will still talk you through it. So square root of 20 becomes square root of 4 times 5, and that is square root of 4 times square root of 5, which is just 2 square root of 5. Okay, so that square root of 5 will be our c in this case, so that will be a hint for you to simplify square root of 80. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we need to write it in the same form, so it will be some number times 5 that will make 80. That number, if you just do 80 divided by 5, that will be 16. Okay, so you'll get square root of 16 times square root of 5, and that is just for square root of 5. Okay, so now I will use two of those simplified answers in our example, and it is 2 square root of 5 plus 4 square root of 5. As you can see, now they have the same roots. We can actually add them together. So we treat square root of 5 as an x, and you just do 2 plus 4, which becomes 6 root 5. Thank you for watching. Give us a like if you enjoyed our video, subscribe and comment below if you have any more questions.